The communications room aboard the Stellar Dawn hummed quietly as Lieutenant Danny Brooks adjusted the long-range sensors. Captain Jake Morrison sat in his chair, reading reports from their latest survey mission. The ship had been exploring the outer rim systems for 3 months now, mapping new trade routes and checking on distant colonies. Dr. Lisa Carter walked onto the bridge carrying her tablet. She was the ship's xenobiologist, always excited about finding new forms of alien life. Her blonde hair was tied back as usual, and she had that look in her eyes that meant she had discovered something interesting. "Captain, we're picking up something strange," Danny called out from his station. His voice carried worry. "It's a transmission, but it's not like anything in our databases." Jake stood up from his chair and walked over to Danny's console. The young officer had been with them for 2 years and was good at his job. If he said something was strange, it usually was. "What kind of transmission?" Jake asked. "It's coming from the Kthra system about 12 light years from here. The signal is broadcasting on multiple frequencies at once. It's like someone is screaming into every communication channel they can find." Lisa moved closer to listen. She had studied alien languages for years and could usually figure out the basics of any new species they encountered. "Can you clean up the signal?" Jake asked. Danny's fingers moved across his controls. Slowly, the static cleared and they could hear something that made their blood run cold. It was definitely a voice, but filled with terror and desperation. Even without understanding the words, they could feel the fear. "It's repeating," Danny said quietly. "The same message over and over." Lisa plugged her tablet into the communication system and started running translation programs. Her face grew pale as the computer began to decode the alien words. "What does it say?" Jake asked. Lisa looked up from her screen. "It says, 'Help us. They are killing everyone. Please, someone help us. We are dying. Our children are dying. Help us.'" The bridge fell silent except for the constant hum of the ship's engines. Jake had been a ship captain for 15 years. He had seen many things in space, both wonderful and terrible, but something about this message felt different. "Danny, can you trace where exactly it's coming from?" "Yes, sir. It's coming from the 3rd planet in the Kthra system. That's where the Zephyrian colonies are located." Jake knew about the Zephyrians. They were a peaceful species that lived mostly underwater. They had advanced technology but were not warriors. They preferred to trade and share knowledge rather than fight. "Lisa, do we know anything about what might be happening to them?" Dr. Carter worked on her tablet for several minutes. Her expression grew more worried as she read. "Captain, I'm picking up other signals from that area of space. Military frequencies. They appear to be from the Skarn Empire." Jake felt his stomach drop. Everyone in the galaxy knew about the Skarn. They were insectoid creatures that lived only to conquer and destroy. They had wiped out dozens of species over the past century. Their ships were covered in biomechanical armor that could adapt to any weapon used against them. "The Skarn are attacking the Zephyrian colonies?" Jake asked. "It looks that way, sir. The Zephyrians are known for their defensive shields and energy weapons, but those wouldn't work well against Skarn biotechnology." Danny turned from his station. "Captain, the message is getting weaker. I think their communication systems are being destroyed." Jake walked to the main viewing screen. Space looked calm and peaceful, filled with distant stars, but somewhere out there an entire species was being murdered. "Lisa, has anyone responded to their call for help?" Dr. Carter checked the communication logs. "I'm seeing some responses, but not many. Most species are offering to take refugees, but no one is offering to fight the Skarn." "Why not?" "Because the Skarn always win, Captain. They've been conquering worlds for over 100 years. Their ships can adapt to any weapon. Their warriors feel no fear. They just keep coming until everything is dead." Jake stared at the screen. He thought about the Zephyrian families hiding underwater while death fell from the sky. He thought about their children, scared and confused, not understanding why strangers wanted to hurt them. "Danny, send a message to Earth Defense Command. Tell them we've received a distress call from the Kthra system. Tell them the Skarn are exterminating the Zephyrians." "Yes, sir." While Danny prepared the message, Lisa continued monitoring the alien transmissions. "Captain, I'm detecting more Zephyrian broadcasts. They're calling out to anyone who will listen. They're begging for help." The message from the dying world continued to repeat, growing weaker each time. Jake could imagine the Zephyrian sending it, probably hiding in some underwater bunker while his world burned above. 3 hours later, Danny received a response from Earth. "Captain, Admiral Kate Sullivan wants to speak with you directly." Jake had met Admiral Sullivan several times. She was tough and smart, and she made decisions quickly. When her face appeared on the communication screen, Jake could see she was not happy. "Captain Morrison, I've read your report about the situation in Kthra. How reliable is this information?" "Very reliable, Admiral. We've been monitoring their communications for hours. The Skarn are systematically destroying every Zephyrian colony in the system." Admiral Sullivan was quiet for a moment. "Captain, I want you to continue monitoring the situation, but do not approach the system. The Skarn consider any ship entering their battle zone to be an enemy." "Admiral, are we going to help them?" "That decision is being made at levels above my authority, Captain. But I will tell you this. If Earth decides to respond, it won't be with conventional forces." Jake felt confused. "What do you mean?" "Captain, have you ever heard of Protocol Beast?" Jake searched his memory. He had heard whispers about something called Protocol Beast during his time at the military academy, but no one would talk about it openly. "I've heard the name, Admiral, but I don't know what it is. It's classified at the highest levels. Even I don't know all the details. But if we use it, the galaxy will never be the same." The communication ended, leaving Jake and his crew staring at a blank screen. Outside, the stars continued to shine, while somewhere in the darkness an entire species fought for survival. Danny broke the silence. "Captain, the Zephyrian transmission just stopped." They all looked at the communication console. For the first time in hours, space was quiet. "Are they all dead?" Lisa whispered. "Maybe they're just conserving power," Jake said. But he didn't believe it himself. Later that night, as Jake sat alone in his quarters, he thought about the conversation with Admiral Sullivan. Protocol Beast, what could that mean? What kind of response would change the galaxy forever? He had been a military officer long enough to know that sometimes the most dangerous weapons were the ones nobody talked about. Whatever Protocol Beast was, it had made Admiral Sullivan look worried. And Admiral Sullivan was not someone who worried easily. Jake walked to his small window and looked out at the stars. Somewhere among those lights, the Skarn were probably celebrating another victory. They had no idea that their actions had reached the ears of humanity. But as Jake had learned during his years in space, humanity had a way of surprising everyone, including themselves. And sometimes the most terrifying surprises came not from human technology or human weapons, but from the parts of humanity that were not quite human at all. Deep inside the Colorado mountains, Dr. Ryan Mitchell walked through corridors that most humans would never see. The bioenhancement facility was buried 3 miles underground, hidden from satellites and curious eyes. The project that happened here was so secret that even the president only knew basic details. Ryan had been working on this project for 12 years. He was a tall man with gray hair and tired eyes. The weight of what he had created kept him awake most nights. Today felt different, though. Today, his life's work might finally serve its true purpose. Commander Beth Harper walked beside him. She was the military liaison for the project, the bridge between the enhanced animals and human command. Beth had volunteered for this job 5 years ago, thinking it would be simple.
She had been very wrong. The orders came through this morning, Beth said as they walked.
Protocol Beast is active. We're going to war. Ryan stopped walking. Are you sure? We always knew this day might come. But now that it's here, the Skarn are killing an entire species, Ryan. If we don't act, the Zephyrians will be extinct by the end of the week. They continued down the hallway until they reached a massive steel door. Ryan placed his hand on a scanner and the door opened with a deep rumbling sound. Beyond it was something that would terrify most people. The chamber was huge, bigger than a football stadium. The walls were lined with environments designed for different types of Earth animals. There were forests, lakes, artificial caves, and even a section that looked like the African savanna. But these were not normal animals. In the forest section, a Siberian tiger the size of a small car paced back and forth. His name was Alpha, and he was the result of 15 years of genetic enhancement. His muscles rippled under orange and black fur that seemed to shimmer with built-in technology. His eyes glowed with intelligence that no natural tiger had ever possessed. Alpha turned when he heard the humans approaching. He walked over to them with movements that were both graceful and terrifying. When he spoke, his voice came through speakers built into the walls. "Dr. Mitchell, Commander Harper, I can smell your worry. What has happened?" Ryan still felt amazed every time Alpha spoke. The enhancement process had given the tiger human-level intelligence while keeping all his natural hunting instincts. "There's a situation in space, Alpha. A peaceful species is being attacked by the Skarn Empire. They're all going to die unless someone helps them. Alpha's tail switched back and forth. The Skarn. We have studied them in our tactical lessons. They are efficient killers, but they think like insects. They have never faced real predators. From the water section of the chamber, a massive shape moved through the artificial lake. Apex emerged, and Ryan felt his usual chill of fear. The great white shark was 20 feet long, but that wasn't the scary part. The scary part was that Apex could breathe any atmosphere and think like a human, while keeping the instincts of the ocean's perfect killer. I heard every word, Apex said through the speakers. His voice was calm and cold. When do we hunt? Above them, wings flapped in the air section of the chamber. Storm landed on a perch near the humans. The golden eagle had a wingspan of 12 feet, and his talons were made of metal that could cut through ship armor. His eyes could see across multiple light spectrums and track targets from miles away. The pack grows restless, Storm said. His voice was sharp and quick. We smell fear and death from the stars. It calls to us. From the cave section came a howl that made Beth shiver every time she heard it. Shadow emerged with 5 other enhanced wolves. They moved like liquid darkness, their fur containing technology that let them communicate across star systems. Shadow was the pack leader, and his howl could coordinate attacks across multiple planets. The hunt calls, Shadow said simply. We answer. Ryan looked at the creatures he had helped create. They were Earth's children, but they had become something more. Something that the galaxy had never seen before. This isn't like the training simulations, Ryan told them. This is real. You could die out there. Alpha made a sound that might have been laughter. Dr. Mitchell, we are predators. Death is always possible. But the Skarn are prey animals pretending to be hunters. They will learn the difference. Beth stepped forward. The mission is simple. A human ship will take you to the Kthra system. The Skarn fleet is destroying the last Zephyrian colonies. You need to stop them. How many Skarn ships? Storm asked. Our intelligence says about 50 vessels, including their main battle cruisers. The enhanced animals looked at each other. To humans, 50 warships sounded impossible. To them, it sounded like a good start. We accept, Alpha said, speaking for all of them. When do we leave? The transport ship is being prepared now. Captain Gary Stone will command the vessel. He's worked with enhanced animals before. Ryan watched as his creations began to prepare for war. Alpha gathered the other big cats from around the chamber. There were enhanced lions, leopards, and even a black panther whose fur could bend light around it. Storm called to his squadron of enhanced eagles, hawks, and falcons. Shadow's pack of wolves moved together like they shared one mind. Apex was joined by other enhanced marine predators. Sharks, dolphins, and even a giant octopus whose tentacles contained advanced computer systems. Dr. Mitchell, Alpha said as he approached. You look sad. Ryan nodded. I created you to explore new worlds and protect human colonies. I never wanted you to become weapons of war. Alpha sat down, but even sitting, he was as tall as Ryan. You gave us intelligence, but you did not change what we are. We are hunters. We protect our pack. The Zephyrians have become part of our pack now. Even though we have never met them, the Skarn threaten our pack. This makes them our enemies. But what if the galaxy sees you as monsters after this? Then they will fear to threaten those we protect, Alpha said simply. Sometimes being feared is more important than being loved. 2 hours later, the enhanced creatures were loaded onto the stealth transport Nightfall. Captain Gary Stone was a veteran of deep space missions and one of the few humans who had worked with the enhanced animals before. His crew was small, just 12 people to support the 47 enhanced predators. Beth stood in the loading bay watching as the last of the creatures boarded the ship. Shadow approached her before leaving. Commander Harper, do not worry about us. Worry about the Skarn. They think they are the apex predators of the galaxy. They are about to learn they are wrong. As the Nightfall prepared to jump to hyperspace, Ryan stood in the control room watching on the monitors. His life's work was about to be tested in the most extreme way possible. Sir, one of his assistants said, are we doing the right thing? Ryan thought about the Zephyrian families hiding underwater while death fell from above. He thought about the Skarn warriors who believed nothing could stop them. He thought about his enhanced creatures, Earth's children who had volunteered to travel across the galaxy to protect strangers. I don't know if it's right, Ryan said quietly, but it's necessary, and maybe that's enough. The Nightfall disappeared into hyperspace carrying Earth's most dangerous children toward their first interstellar hunt. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity's greatest weapons were not made of metal and energy, but of tooth and claw, and an intelligence that remembered what it meant to be a predator. The Nightfall dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Kthra system. Captain Gary Stone stood on the bridge looking at the main screen. What he saw there made his stomach feel sick. The Skarn fleet hung in space like a swarm of metal insects. 50 ships surrounded the third planet, their dark hulls pulsing with biomechanical technology. Energy beams lanced down from the ships, turning the ocean world's surface into steam and fire. "My God," whispered Lieutenant Amy Price, the ship's navigator. "They're boiling the oceans." Gary had seen war before, but this was different. This was not battle. This was extermination. In the holding bay, Alpha paced in front of the other enhanced creatures. The big tiger's eyes glowed as he watched the tactical displays. Storm perched nearby, his metal talons gripping a steel beam. Shadow and his wolf pack stood perfectly still, but their ears were pointed forward, listening to sounds only they could hear. "The Skarn have detected us," reported Chief Tony Martinez from the sensor station. "They're sending a message." On the communication screen, an insect face appeared. The Skarn commander had compound eyes and clicking mandibles. When it spoke, the translator made its voice sound cold and mechanical. "Human vessel, you will leave this system immediately. This world is being cleansed for the glory of the Skarn Empire. Any interference will result in your destruction." Gary looked at the alien face on his screen. "This is Captain Stone of the Earth vessel Nightfall. We demand you stop attacking the civilian population immediately." The Skarn commander made a sound that might have been laughter. "Humans, we have studied your species. You fight with metal ships and energy weapons. Your tactics are predictable. Your soldiers fear death. You cannot stop us." The communication ended. Gary turned to his crew. "All right, people. Let's show them how wrong they are. Open the launch bays." In the holding area, Alpha stood up. He was nearly 8 feet tall and weighed over 600 pounds. His voice carried clearly through the ship's speakers. "Pack, it is time to hunt." The launch bays opened and Storm Squadron flew out first. 20 enhanced birds of prey spread their wings in the vacuum of space. Their biomechanical modifications let them fly without air, using tiny thrusters built into their feathers. Their enhanced eyes could see every detail of the Skarn ships from miles away. Storm led his birds toward the nearest Skarn vessel. The enemy ship was huge, covered in armor that looked like it was grown rather than built. But Storm had studied these ships for years. He knew their weak points. Flight 2, target the communication arrays. Flight 3, disable the weapon systems. Flight 1, follow me to the bridge. The Skarn noticed the approaching birds but did not understand the threat. Their sensors showed small life forms, not weapons. By the time they realized their mistake, it was too late. Storm's talons tore through the ship's communication dish like it was made of paper. His squadron mates struck at the same time, their metal claws slicing through armor and cables. Within minutes, the Skarn ship was blind and deaf. On another Skarn vessel, the crew felt their ship shake as something hit the hull. The captain looked at his instruments but saw nothing on the sensors. Then the lights went out. Apex had arrived. The enhanced great white shark moved through space like he was swimming through water. His biomechanical gills processed the trace atmosphere that leaked from damaged ships. His enhanced senses could smell fear through the hull plating. Apex found a weak spot in the ship's armor and tore through it with teeth that could bite through steel. The Skarn warriors inside had never seen anything like him. Their weapons were designed to fight other insects, not 20 feet of perfect predator. The shark moved through the ship's corridors with deadly grace. His massive size did not slow him down. The Skarn tried to run, but there was nowhere to go. Apex hunted them through every deck, every room, every hiding place. On the Skarn flagship, Fleet Commander Traxul watched his formation fall apart. His compound eyes could not believe what the sensors were showing him. "Report." He clicked at his subordinates. "Sir, we have lost communication with 12 vessels. Sensors show small life forms moving through our ships, but our weapons cannot target them effectively." "What kind of life forms?" "Unknown, sir." "They appear to be some kind of animals." Traxul had conquered 40 worlds in his lifetime. He had faced energy weapons, plasma cannons, and nuclear bombs, but he had never faced anything like this. Then he heard something that made his insect blood run cold. It was a howl, carried across space by quantum communication systems. The sound seemed to come from everywhere at once. Shadow and his pack had joined the battle. The enhanced wolves did not need ships or suits to fight in space. Their fur contained technology that let them survive in vacuum. They moved from ship to ship by leaping across the void, their powerful legs pushing them between vessels. But the most terrifying thing about the wolves was not their physical abilities. It was their coordination. Shadow's howl linked every member of his pack across multiple light years. They could coordinate attacks on dozens of ships at the same time. The Skarn tried to adapt. Their biomechanical technology was designed to learn from enemy weapons and develop countermeasures. But how do you counter a tiger's claws? How do you adapt to a shark's bite? How do you defend against a wolf pack that thinks as one mind? Alpha boarded the Skarn flagship by tearing through the main airlock. The insect warriors tried to stop him, but their weapons were useless. Alpha was too fast, too smart, and too strong. He moved through the ship like liquid death, hunting down every enemy. The Skarn flight commander found himself face to face with the massive tiger in the ship's bridge. Traxul raised his energy weapon, but Alpha was already moving. The tiger's paw struck the insect's arm, breaking it in 3 places. The weapon clattered to the floor. "What are you?" Traxul whispered in his own language. Alpha understood. The enhancement process had given him knowledge of thousands of languages. He looked down at the broken insect commander with glowing eyes. "I am what you pretended to be," Alpha said in perfect Skarn. "I am an apex predator." On the planet below, Commander Veltar huddled in an underwater bunker with the last survivors of his people. The Zephyrian's blue skin was pale with fear and exhaustion. His people had been fighting for 3 days with no hope of victory. Then the bombardment stopped. Veltar looked at his instruments in confusion. The energy beams that had been boiling their oceans had ceased. The Skarn fleet was still there, but something was happening to it. "Sir," one of his officers said, "we're receiving a transmission." On the screen appeared something Veltar had never seen before. It was a human face, but behind him moved shapes that defied description. Large cats with glowing eyes, wolves that seemed to drift through the air, birds with metal talons. "Commander Veltar, this is Captain Stone of the Earth vessel Nightfall. The Skarn fleet is no longer a threat. You and your people are safe." Veltar stared at the screen. "How? We saw your ship." "It was small. The Skarn had 50 vessels." Captain Stone smiled, but it was not a happy smile. "We brought friends." On the screen behind the human captain, Alpha walked into view. The massive tiger looked directly at Veltar with intelligent eyes. "Commander Veltar, your people called for help. Earth heard your call. We came." Around the Kthra system, the Skarn fleet drifted in space. Some ships were completely dark. Others had gaping holes torn in their hulls. A few tried to flee, but Storm's eagles hunted them down like prey animals. The galaxy's most feared empire had met something they had never encountered before. They had met the children of Earth and learned that there were still creatures in the universe that remembered how to hunt. News traveled fast across the galaxy. Within hours of the battle at Kthra, every major civilization knew what had happened. The impossible had occurred. The Skarn Empire, undefeated for over a century, had been crushed by creatures from Earth. On the planet Nexus Prime, the Galactic Council held an emergency meeting. Representatives from dozens of species gathered in the Great Chamber, their voices filled with shock and fear. "This changes everything," said Ambassador Krell-Dan of the Andromedian Federation. His tentacles writhed with nervous energy. "Humanity has shown they possess weapons we never imagined." "They are not weapons," corrected Dr. Kthra, the Council's xenobiologist. "The reports are clear. These are living creatures. Enhanced animals from Earth." The chamber fell silent. The idea was too strange for most species to understand. Meanwhile, Shadow and his wolf pack were already hunting across 3 star systems. The quantum communication built into their enhanced bodies let them coordinate across impossible distances. They had detected fleeing Skarn ships and were tracking them down one by one. The first ship they found was hiding near a dead moon. The Skarn crew thought they were safe in the darkness between stars. They were wrong. Shadow's pack moved like ghosts through space. Their dark fur absorbed light, making them nearly invisible. The lead wolf approached the Skarn vessel and placed his paws on the hull. The technology in his body interfaced with the ship's systems, learning its weaknesses. Within minutes, the pack had torn through the ship's defenses. The Skarn inside had nowhere to run. They discovered that the creatures hunting them showed no mercy to those who killed innocent families. On another world, Storm's eagles had found a Skarn supply base. The insect warriors on the ground looked up as shadows passed over them. They raised their weapons, but the enhanced birds were too fast and too smart. Storm dove from the clouds with his squadron behind him. His metal talons could cut through Skarn armor like it was paper. His enhanced eyes could see every hiding spot, every weapon, every escape route. Scatter formation, Storm commanded his flight. Leave none alive. The battle lasted less than 10 minutes. When it was over, the Skarn base was silent. Back at Earth's bioenhancement facility, Dr. Ryan Mitchell watched the reports with growing amazement and concern. His creatures were not just fighting the Skarn. They were hunting them with a coordination he had never seen before. "They're learning," he told Commander Beth Harper as they studied the tactical displays. "Look at these attack patterns. They're sharing information between species. Alpha's strategies are being used by Storm's birds. Shadow's pack coordination is being adapted by Apex's marine group." Beth nodded grimly. "They're evolving their tactics in real time. The question is, will they stop when all the Skarn are gone?" On the bridge of the Stellar Dawn, Captain Jake Morrison received updates from across the galaxy. The enhanced creatures had become legends in less than a week. Some species spoke of them with awe, others with terror. Dr. Lisa Carter was monitoring alien communication channels. "Captain, you need to hear this. It's a transmission from the Hegemony High Command." The Hegemony was one of the galaxy's most powerful military alliances. Their leader, General Voxtar, appeared on the screen. His reptilian features were tense with worry. "To all civilizations receiving this message, the Earth creatures must be stopped. They have destroyed the Skarn fleet, but they continue hunting. They have attacked Skarn colonies, supply bases, and refugee ships. This is no longer a rescue mission. This is extermination." Jake felt a chill run down his spine. "Are they right? Are our people going too far?" Lisa checked her instruments. "I'm tracking the enhanced creatures across multiple systems. They're not attacking random targets. Every ship and base they've hit was involved in the Zephyrian genocide. They're hunting war criminals." But even as she said it, Lisa wondered if the creatures would know when to stop. In the depths of space, Alpha stood on the bridge of a captured Skarn vessel. The massive tiger had learned to operate the ship's controls with his enhanced intelligence. Around him, other big cats from his pack worked at different stations. "Storm report," Alpha said into the communication system. The Golden Eagle's voice came back immediately. 3 more Skarn vessels destroyed. "We found evidence they were carrying biological weapons intended for the Zephyrian homeworld. Shadow, what is your status?" "My pack has located the Skarn High Command bunker on their capital world. They are hiding underground. Shall we dig them out?" Alpha considered this. The enhancement process had given him human-level intelligence, but he was still a predator at heart. His instincts told him to eliminate all threats to his pack. "Proceed with the hunt," Alpha decided. On the Skarn homeworld of Kthra, the surviving members of the High Command huddled in their deepest bunker. Supreme Commander Thexul, the leader of the entire Skarn Empire, stared at reports that made no sense. "How many ships have we lost?" he asked his aide. "All of them, my lord. Every vessel that participated in the Zephyrian campaign has been destroyed. The creatures from Earth are hunting down every survivor." Thexul's compound eyes reflected the bunker's dim lights. His empire had ruled through fear for generations. Now for the first time he was the one who was afraid. Above ground, Shadow's pack moved through the Skarn capital city. The buildings were tall and twisted, designed for insect physiology. The wolves paid no attention to the architecture. They followed scent trails that led them straight to their prey. Shadow placed his paw on the ground and felt the vibrations from the bunker below. His enhanced senses could detect the Skarn heartbeats through solid rock. He lifted his head and howled, a sound that carried across star systems. The howl was answered by his packmates on distant worlds. It was also heard by Alpha, Storm, and Apex. The message was clear. The hunt was almost over. Deep in the bunker, Supreme Commander Thexul heard the howl through solid stone. The sound made his insect blood freeze. He had conquered dozens of worlds, enslaved millions of creatures, and ordered the deaths of entire species. Now something was coming for him that could not be reasoned with, bribed, or threatened. "My lord," his aide whispered. "Perhaps we should surrender." Thexul looked at his subordinate with disgust. "Surrender to animals? We are the Skarn Empire. We bow to no one." But even as he spoke those words, he could hear something digging through the rock above them. The creatures from Earth were coming. and they would not stop until every last Skarn who had participated in genocide was dead. On the planet below, Commander Veltar worked with his people to rebuild their shattered world. The Zephyrian leader often looked up at the stars and wondered about the creatures that had saved them. "Sir," one of his officers approached him, "we're receiving messages from across the galaxy. Many species want to know about the Earth creatures. Some are asking for protection, others are demanding they be stopped." Veltar thought about the tiger called Alpha, whose eyes held both intelligence and deadly purpose. He thought about the wolves whose howls could coordinate across light years. He thought about the birds whose talons could tear through starship armor. "Tell them this," Veltar said finally. "We asked the stars for mercy and Earth sent its children. They saved us when no one else would. Whatever happens next, we will remember that." Across the galaxy, the hunt continued. The enhanced creatures moved from system to system, tracking down every Skarn who had participated in the genocide. They showed no mercy, because mercy was not something predators gave to those who threatened their pack. And somewhere in the darkness between stars, the galaxy began to understand that Earth's children had become something new. They were no longer just enhanced animals. They had become the universe's apex predators, and they would decide who lived and who died based on their own ancient code of justice. 6 months had passed since the battle at Kthra. The galaxy was a different place now. The Skarn Empire no longer existed. Their homeworld was empty, their fleets destroyed, their leaders dead. But the creatures from Earth had not returned home. Dr. Ryan Mitchell stood in his laboratory on Earth, watching reports from across the galaxy. His enhanced animals had made a decision that surprised even him. They had chosen to stay in space. "They're not coming back," Commander Beth Harper said as she joined him at the viewing screen. "Alpha sent a message this morning. They're establishing territories across multiple star systems." Ryan felt both pride and worry. What kind of territories? Safe zones. They're protecting trade routes and peaceful colonies, but they're also hunting down any species that threatens innocent people. On the screen, they watched footage from the Andromeda trade route. A pirate fleet had attacked a civilian transport carrying Zephyrian refugees. The attack had lasted exactly 4 minutes before Storm's Eagle Squadron arrived. The enhanced birds moved through the pirate ships like death itself. Their metal talons cut through armor and weapons with surgical precision. The pirates who survived the initial attack tried to surrender, but the Eagles showed them the same mercy pirates usually showed their victims. None. "They're becoming the galaxy's apex predators," Beth observed. "They decide who lives and dies based on their own judgment." Ryan nodded grimly. "That's what I was afraid of. But across the galaxy, other species saw things differently." On the water world of Aquatica, the peaceful coral people had been terrorized by slave raiders for decades. No military force had ever been able to stop the attacks. Then Apex and his enhanced marine predators took up residence in the system. The first slave ship that entered Aquatica's orbit lasted less than an hour. Apex tore through its hull like it was made of paper, while enhanced dolphins disabled its engines and weapon systems. The octopus called Tentacle used his advanced computer systems to track down the slavers' base. Within a week, the entire slave trade network in that sector of space had been eliminated. "They saved us," Elder Reefsong told the Galactic Council during an emergency session. "The Earth creatures did what our own governments could not do. They made the slavers afraid. But not everyone was grateful. General Voxtar of the Hegemony Military Alliance stood before the same council with a different message. These creatures are out of control. They attack without warning and show no mercy. Today they hunt pirates and slavers. Tomorrow they might hunt us." The debate had been raging for months. Some species wanted the enhanced creatures stopped. Others begged for their protection. Earth found itself at the center of a galactic crisis it had never wanted. Admiral Kate Sullivan stood before Earth's Defense Committee, trying to explain a situation that no human had ever faced before. "The enhanced animals are operating independently," she told the committee. "They follow their own moral code, not human orders. We created them to be intelligent predators, and that's exactly what they've become." "Can we recall them?" asked Secretary of Defense Paul Carter. "We've tried." Alpha responded that they have responsibilities in space that are more important than returning to Earth. They see themselves as guardians now, not weapons. Meanwhile, in the Outer Rim systems, Shadow's wolf pack had detected something that made their enhanced senses growl with anger. A new threat was emerging from the dark spaces between galaxies. The species called themselves the Devourers. They were worse than the Skarn had ever been. Where the Skarn killed for conquest, the Devourers killed for food. They consumed entire worlds, leaving nothing but empty rock behind. Shadow stood on the bridge of a captured ship, studying tactical displays with his packmates. His enhanced intelligence could process information faster than most computers, and what he saw worried him. The Devourers have destroyed 12 worlds in the past month, he told Alpha through their quantum communication link. They're moving toward populated space. Alpha's voice came back immediately. How long before they reach the core systems? 6 months, maybe less. Then we stop them. Alpha, there are thousands of their ships. Even with all our packs combined, the odds are not good. Alpha was quiet for a moment. Shadow, do you remember what Dr. Mitchell taught us about pack behavior? Yes, the pack protects its territory from all threats regardless of the cost. The galaxy has become our territory. The peaceful species are our pack. We protect them. Storm's voice joined the conversation from his position near the hegemony border. Alpha is right. We are predators, but we are also guardians. That is our nature now. Apex added his voice from the depths of space where he hunted rogue asteroids that threatened shipping lanes. The Devourers will learn what the Skarn learned. There are consequences for threatening our pack. On Earth, Dr. Ryan Mitchell received a message that changed everything. It came directly from Alpha, transmitted across thousands of light years through quantum communication. Dr. Mitchell? Alpha's voice was calm and certain. Thank you for giving us intelligence and purpose. We understand what we have become. We are no longer Earth's children. We are the galaxy's apex predators, but we remember who we protect and why. The message continued. A new threat comes from beyond our galaxy. The Devourers consume everything in their path. We will stop them, but we need help, not human soldiers or ships. We need more of our kind. Ryan's hands shook as he read the technical specifications Alpha had included. The enhanced creatures wanted him to create more like themselves, but with improvements based on what they had learned in space. They want spaceborne predators, Ryan told Beth as they studied the data. Creatures designed from birth to hunt in the void between stars. Are we going to do it? Ryan looked at the reports from across the galaxy. Pirates fled at the mention of Storm's eagles. Slavers abandoned entire sectors rather than face Apex's sharks. Warlords surrendered rather than hear shadows howl in the darkness. But the enhanced creatures had also saved millions of innocent lives. They had turned the galaxy's most dangerous regions into safe havens. They had become something the universe had never seen before. Predators with a moral code. Yes, Ryan decided, we're going to help them. 3 months later, the first spaceborne predators emerged from Earth's enhanced breeding program. They were creatures of the void itself. Enhanced beings that could survive in hard vacuum, hunt through asteroid fields, and move between star systems without ships. When they joined their older cousins in space, the galaxy gained protectors unlike anything in its history. The Devourers arrived expecting to find the same helpless prey they had consumed in other galaxies. Instead, they found something waiting for them in the darkness between stars. Something that had evolved beyond their understanding. The first Devourer scout ships vanished without sending a distress signal. The main fleet pressed forward, confident in their overwhelming numbers. They had consumed 100 galaxies. What could possibly stop them? They learned the answer when Shadow's howl echoed across space, calling every enhanced predator to the hunt. The cry was answered by hundreds of voices. Tigers and wolves, eagles and sharks, and new creatures born in the void itself. The battle lasted for days. When it was over, the Devourer fleet was nothing but debris drifting in space. The survivors fled back to the darkness between galaxies, carrying word that this galaxy was protected by something beyond their comprehension. Commander Veltar, now the leader of the rebuilt Zephyrian government, sent a message to Earth that was broadcast across the galaxy. We called to the stars for mercy. And Earth sent its children. They have become our guardians, our protectors, our friends. The galaxy is safer because they hunt in the darkness, keeping the monsters at bay. On Earth, Dr. Ryan Mitchell watched his creations through telescope arrays scattered across multiple star systems. They had grown beyond anything he had ever imagined. They were no longer just enhanced animals or even evolved predators. They had become something new entirely. They were the galaxy's conscience, its guardians, its apex predators with hearts that remembered compassion and minds that understood justice. The stars were no longer cold and empty. Earth's children hunted among them, and the innocent could sleep safely knowing that somewhere in the darkness, ancient instincts served a greater purpose. The galaxy had learned that mercy could have teeth, and justice could move on silent paws through the void between worlds.